January 25th,
January 20.
2021. City Council regular meeting. I need approval. Somebody.
I move approval of the agenda. Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Yes,
Aye.
Okay. First item, we have some swearing in to do. Guess I'll turn this right over to the judge if you would like to get it started.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, very good. I have two people to receive the oath. Is Nancy McCarthy present?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?
Okay.
I, Nancy McCarthy, do solemnly swear
I, Nancy McCarthy, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully and honorably conduct myself
and I will faithfully and honorably conduct myself
in the office of Cannon Beach City Councilor, to which I have been elected,
to the office of Cannon Beach City Councilor, to which I have been elected,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Very good. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Ogilvy, would you please raise your right hand, sir?
yes,
And repeat after me. I, Brandon Ogilvy, do solemnly swear
I, Brandon Ogilvy, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully and honorably conduct myself
and I will faithfully and honorably conduct myself
in the office of Cannon Beach City Councilor, to which I have been elected,
in the office of Cannon Beach City Councilor, to which I have been elected,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right. Very good. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right.
Thank you, counselors. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Sam, I did have one thing about the minutes.
Uh, That's coming.
Okay,
We'll get things done.
okay.
Okay, we did the hearing, so now we have an election of a council president. Have any nominations?
I nominate Mike Benefield to continue to be council president. See what happens when you're not here, Mike?
Yeah, big mistake. I realize that now, but it's too late.
Second,
Okay, seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I will ask for a, is it by roll call?
We can do roll call. I'm not sure because this is my first year of doing it, so I can do a roll call.
I think that's good by roll call just because of the Zoom
Okay.
stuff.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield. Well, I mean, that's what my list says.
Yeah,
Right.
you were.
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes,
Mayor Stidell.
Yes. There you go, Mike, back at it.
Okay,
Okay, now we are moving on to our consent agenda for the minutes. Comments first?
yes, there was something on page 5 of 10 of the minutes for December 1st. And it was talking about, in response to Benefield's question, let's see here. Benefield added, that raises questions back to the lot with the garage and ADU on it. Is that part of the habitat? Could you explain that, Mike? Because it doesn't sound clear.
yeah, I think I misspoke on the terminology to some extent. It raised the issue of that structure which is really the garage that is an accessory structure, not an accessory dwelling unit. I think I said ADU, but part of the discussion had been people were referring to it as an ADU. So I just felt it was raising that whole issue of the garage and the habitable space and so forth. And I think it should have been clear that as an accessory structure, it is not a habitable space and therefore would not be an ADU. But I didn't feel that was what we were addressing for that particular hearing.
Thank you. Yeah, that kind of, okay, so then on page, I think it's the good of the order.
Same meeting?
Yes,
It's 10 of 10.
yes. It's the fourth line. And it said, Risley noted, I think human resources should be ongoing. I do not think it should be covered and should be, I meant, I do think it should be covered. The not should be not, the not should not be there. Okay. And then on the December 8th, it would be page 6 of 9. It's the last paragraph. And it said, have you seen a garage, a car parked there? What I meant to say, or what I said was that, okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Risley replied, have you seen a garage parked there? It should be a car parked there. And that's it.
Any other concerns for the minutes? And I'll need a motion for the consent. Change it.
Move we approve the consent agenda, including the minutes with the changes by Counselor Risley from December 1st, December 8th, December 14th, 15th, and 17th.
I second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you for that. So we'll move on. Public comment, there's nobody in the house and there was nobody that offered from outside, so pass on the public comment at this moment. We'll go straight to our ordinance. 2101, an ordinance for the purpose of appealing Cannon Beach Municipal Code, Chapter 2.38, Emergency Preparedness Committee. Bruce.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the recent past, we had a committee called the Emergency Preparedness Committee, and they were instrumental in getting us started in developing our emergency management program. Over the past 3 years, they have not met. They did not have a quorum. And there was discussion at your retreat about having, possibly eliminating that particular program, since we now have a full-time professional emergency manager. And he's working with all the people that the EPREP would have worked with also. So you have in front of you an ordinance, which is 2101, and that would repeal the municipal code chapter that would deal with the EPREP committee. Before we take any action, though, I want to thank Carolyn Adamson, Les Weirson, because they really built the base on which we are all, continuing. And we owe them a lot, and they kind of got us out ahead of everybody else. And that was visionary, and there was a lot of work associated with it. So thank you to both of them.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
I think Molly Edison also played quite a role in.
I think you're right, and I'm sorry if I missed anybody. We were just down to these two. And so they're the ones that are currently on. The other people have kind of moved on, but all the people that had ever worked on it and have done just a really great job. And we're able to build on that, and it's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, we were really ahead of the game with everybody
Yep.
in there. It was quite something.
Yes.
Okay, any last questions on that one? Or I need a motion. And we do have a script on this one. I don't know if anybody else has the script.
Mhm.
No, I just gave it to you.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Nancy, did you-
Okay, I move to adopt ordinance 2101 for the purpose of repealing the Cannon Beach Municipal Code, Chapter 2.38, Emergency Preparedness EPREP Committee.
So, sorry, we have to do and I should have put this on the staff report and I apologize. We need to do a motion to approve the first reading first. And so I apologize. I should have had that in the staff report.
Okay, so do I say I move to approve the, oh, thanks.
not the highlights.
I move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 21-01.
Second?
Seconded. Now I need to read it before we actually vote on it. Ordinance 20-21-01, an ordinance for the purpose of repealing Cannon Beach Chapter 2.3 Emergency Preparedness Committee. Any discussion? Okay.
I would like to well thank the members that have served, plus Carolyn and Les Pearson for all their hard work.
Okay. Call the roll.
Okay, Counselor Risley,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes,
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. Okay, the vote was unanimous. We can approve a second reading by title only. Down in there.
All right. I move to approve the second reading and adopt ordinance number 21-01. Is that right?
Do I have a second?
second it.
Ordinance 21-01, an ordinance for the purpose of repealing Cannon Beach Municipal Code, Chapter 2.38, Emergency Preparedness Committee. Any discussion? Jennifer?
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes,
Counselor Risley,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. Ordinance 21-01 has been adopted and will become effective 30 days from adoption. There, we did that. I'm sure, kind of fun. Next item. Resolution considering 21-01 for the purpose of amending city council rules of procedure dated March 6th. Who's doing this, Bruce?
Yes, sir. This resolution would change your meeting times to, for the workshop to be 6 o'clock and for the regular meeting to be 6 o'clock. Currently, we have three groups, which includes you, Planning Commission, and DRB. And everybody meets at a different time, and you meet at two different times. So this would make it consistent throughout for our evening meetings to be 6 o'clock. It does not preclude you from having a special meeting at 4 or something like that, but our regular meetings would be set for 6 o'clock. Any questions?
Questions or comments, concerns? Okay, then I need a motion.
I'll move to adopt resolution number 21-01 for the purpose of amending the city council rules of procedure dated March 6, 2018.
Second?
Seconded. Any last comments?
When would this begin then?
February meeting.
February meeting? Okay.
Jennifer?
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benedict,
Yes,
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Thank you. That should be a nice change.
So our work session is at 5:30 next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, this month.
It's coming Tuesday, yes.
Consideration of resolution 20-02 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 2021 budget by making municipal fund transfer appropriation. Bruce?
Essentially, we're going to be moving money that would allow an action that you approved recently, which was to look into an agreement with the ham radio operators. And so we needed a transfer to do that. And Rick, you want to give just a minute on what that project is about?
Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Back in November, we were able to complete a memorandum of understanding with that group, which would allow us to every year look at their needs and how they're serving our community and what they need to maintain the service around us. And we'll be able to budget those items. And that was moving on to the future. What they're able to provide us now and even before next fiscal year is really quite an amazing service that'll let us get moving quickly. And so we asked for that amendment to happen for that. And the Sunset Amateur Radio Club is one of the clubs that's really been servicing the community for a very long time. And we're so proud to get them back into the game of being a highlighted unit. What's happening in the north side with KMUN and partnering with them, that's been invaluable. Just the advice they've given us to get that project up and running on our side of the table with no cost involved, even in starting that, has been invaluable to us. So we're very proud to be partnering with them and really appreciate this augment to my budget.
This is a non-traditional relationship, I think, but I think it's brilliant to bring those kind of people in to work with. And then also, not just to say, come help us, it's like, we'll help you. And it's been beneficial for everyone. And it'll be a big change from what we saw in 2007.
Are we going to be looking at another $10,000 donation next year or?
No, it's really not that type of a cost. That type of cost that we were looking at really is what gets us to be able to function as a really solid South area unit. And then it does project up to Seaside and then down to Artscape and Falcon Cove. In the future, it'll just be focused on what they need to continue the service here in Cannon Beach. And so it probably would not be that type of cost.
If there are costs, we would evaluate those and then bring them to you if they were necessary.
Work that out in the budget committee process, but realistically, that's not the foreseeable cost for what we're talking about.
Okay, but you expect there will be costs in the future?
Yes,
With them.
yes. When it comes down to maintaining a service like that, there's always an annual cost to maintain it somewhat. And they actually are the most benefit fiscally when it comes to buying your own system and trying to build your own system versus piggyback on their system. Little things like batteries up at a cache site, they may cost $2,000 a year to replace all the batteries, and that's one of the ongoing costs. Those kind of things are something that we can project in the budget.
Also, the equipment that they have is largely outside, and so, there will be replacements. It won't be totally our responsibility to make the replacements, but that we will be a partner when those decisions come up.
Yeah, and the one thing that they bring us more than anybody else right now is also future advancements. The technology that's trying to come into this area that we can't afford from Verizon or other big carriers, they're able to give us parts of those things and we can partner with them and reduce our costs drastically.
And also get things sooner.
That's true.
That's true.
Oh, it's a good job, Rick. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, and I need a budget or a motion on those.
I move to adopt resolution 21-02 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 2021 budget by making an intra-fund transfer of appropriations.
Second?
Seconded. Any other questions? Jennifer?
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Stidell.
Yes. Thanks, Rick. Okay. Consideration of 2103 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to fiscal year 2021 budget by making an another one. Okay. Bruce?
Yes, sir. We had talked about the workload that is currently being experienced in the Community Development Department. And we have additional initiatives that we're trying to accomplish. And so this budget resolution, or this resolution to modify the budget does two things. One is it provides an appropriate amount for legal services, which are very high right now. And the other is to allow staff to develop an RFP for someone to, an outside consultant to manage the code audit process. You will be seeing, hopefully, the RFP for that at your January 12th meeting. And if we have any questions, Jeff is on the line to answer anything specifically, but we covered this, I think, pretty well at a workshop and in our retreat.
Questions, concerns?
Well, the only question I have is in the staff report, it talks about fiscal year 1920, but you're really talking about 2021, aren't you?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Yes, please, yeah.
Yeah, I spoke about 1920 because that was comparisons back to when it was what it was budgeted at for 1920. So those are comparisons to those numbers. Yeah. So what I'm asking for though is corrections that would be above that. So yeah, we're looking at 120,000 above what it currently is. And the reason I brought those up at 1920 was in that comparison that we had put the amended budget for the COVID related. We had shrunk our budget for legal, and now we're kind of asking for it back is what we're really doing.
Just says we're expecting some trips to before Luba by the end of fiscal year 19/20, but I think you mean 2021.
We were at Luba in 1920 before doing.
2021, 1920. Yeah, 21 would be,
Yes.
yeah. So that's why I was a little confused there. Okay, so we're talking about 20-21.
Thank you, Nathan. Sorry about that.
Okay, then I guess we need a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 21-03 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 2020, 2021 budget by making an intra-fund transfer of appropriations.
A second.
Second?
Oh, we're on our way. Other concerns? Jen?
Councilor Risley,
Yes.
Councilor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes.
Mayor Stidell.
Yes. Okay, take that one. Consideration for resolution 2104 for the purpose of updating committee's rules and regulations. Bruce?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I apologize to Ashley because I didn't tell her I was going to call her on her for this one. But I'm going to ask that Ashley walk us through this, please.
Okay.
Good evening, council. Welcome to 2020. Everybody's doing well. So this is a pretty easy one. It's my understanding that the city council discussed this at a work session in December.
Hey, Ashley?
Yes.
Ashley, would you, I don't know where your microphone is, but you're kind of cutting in and out, so maybe get a little bit closer.
Okay, this better?
Yes, thank you.
So you guys discussed this at a work session in December, that it was the
Didn't help.
I'm sorry.
Okay. It's not, I don't know what's going on with your sound, but,
Okay. Give me 2 seconds.
okay.
Goodness, he knows what to do.
Yeah.
Call in
I would just kind of hit this.
the phone.
Any better now?
Yes.
Little, yeah.
Okay, just a little bit better or significantly better?
Keep
A lot better.
Significantly.
Just kept moving 2 feet. Okay. So you guys discussed this at your December council meeting, that it was the council preference that at the committee level, that the committee chair not be able to move the process along. So the chair will, there are times when the chair will need to make a second in a motion in order to make the decision-making process move forward. The issue is that the Cannon Beach City Code delegates to each committee the authority to adopt its own rules and regulations for how its committee will run. So I talked about several different options with the city about how the city can encourage or regulate committees to adopt this process. The best way we saw was to pass a resolution encouraging all the different committees to amend the rules and regulations if they have one, to adopt this process. So what this regulation does, or I'm sorry, what this resolution does is state that it's the council's preference that each of the committees amend their own rules and regulations to allow this. Are there any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. Any, like I said, any questions or any comments, or do we have a motion?
I move to adopt Resolution 21-04 for the purpose of updating the committee's rules and regulations.
Second.
One motion in 4 seconds, that's done.
We're done, yeah.
Jennifer?
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Council President Benefield,
Yes,
Counselor Risley,
Yes.
Mayor Stidle.
Yes. Okay. Consideration Resolution 2105 for the purpose of approving changes to fiscal year 2021 budget by increasing appropriations on the road fund to allow for a specific purpose grant from the Oregon Department of Transportation All City Allotment Program. Karen?
Yes. This is a follow-up to our discussion in last month's meeting regarding the Warren Way intersection and the extension of the landscape that would allow us to remove the candlesticks and make that intersection a 4-way stop, adding the appropriate ADA sidewalks and ramps. We were awarded a 100,000 small city allotment grant for this project. It is a total of 138,000 for the total project. The 100,000 would go towards that. And your approval of utilizing our current year's budget to make up the remainder of that is what's on the table tonight. Staff recommends that the council adopt Resolution 21-05 and allow us to go forward on the modification of this intersection.
Questions, concerns?
I think it's a long time in coming, and I think the people who live down there are really going to appreciate it.
We've got a lot of good feedback on this.
Yeah.
Also want to commend the Public Works staff to doing such a great job on pursuing these grants.
Mhm.
Never seen this level of success without a grant department. So good job on that also.
well, thanks for the perseverance on that. It took a long time, but you didn't give up, so it's great.
Thank you. I have a great right-hand gal that helped me with that team effort.
I have a question.
Go, Brandon.
Yes, Karen, thank you so much for all your hard work. I do have a question about how locked in are we to the design moving forward? if there need to be changes for one reason or another.
We have a conceptual drawing, and the same engineering company that did the conceptual drawing will give us a construction engineered drawing. I don't foresee any changes. If there are any, they would be very minor. We have made sure that we meet the ADA requirements that are needed for this intersection.
Got it. And so that kind of leads into my second question, is the sidewalk that would be, I guess I'll say, on the southwest portion of the Hemlock there.
It
Where
would
the-
be on the southwest, yeah. So anybody coming from Moe's or Talavana Inn Hotel would be walking on a sidewalk, approaching an ADA ramp, going across to the grocery store. Folks that are on the park side, the northwest side, would not have a sidewalk, but they would have a clear, firm right-of-way area approaching a ADA ramp that would allow them to go down the corner and across to the Wayside Inn Hotel.
Okay, my question is about the portion of the sidewalk that just sort of ends on Hemlock, where there currently, I don't believe there's any plans to continue that sidewalk that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there would not be a sidewalk on Hemlock parallel to the Talavana State parking lot. It would be a firm surface that allows you to enter an ADA ramp and go across the sidewalk per the ADA requirements.
This would be in front of the Talavana Inn.
On
Okay.
Talavana Inn, they would be on a regular sidewalk, and the curb would be part of the replacement of the candlesticks meeting the landscape that comes down. That's depicted in your conceptual drawing that was in your packet last month.
I understand. Thank you.
Karen, this is Mike. If we should get into some issue where it requires some change to the plan, is there a dollar limit that says you reach a certain amount, you have to go back to the Department of Transportation? Or just manage our own budget best we can and make.
We would manage our own budget.
What's that?
Yeah, we would manage our own budget because we don't have the opportunity to go back and increase that 100,000. We were awarded the maximum amount under the small city allotment. Now, it doesn't mean that we couldn't apply again next year if something were to be so unexpected that it really caused some significant change. We could still apply for the grant again the following year to finish the intersection. I don't foresee that happening. We did the due diligence necessary to make sure of what we're facing here from an ADA perspective. The only thing that we could possibly face is material costs that have gone up from when we got our engineered estimated quote to what we would be facing when we start the actual construction. But that's what we face every year, project to project, of costs going up. It's pretty minimal.
Okay, thank you.
A while back, when we were first getting into the COVID situation, we talked about that this might create a similar situation to what there was with the Great Recession. And we talked to you, and you said, work on shovel ready. And this is the kind of thing that puts you at the head of the line if you already have some of your work done. So we took advantage of that, and I think we'll be able to do that some in the utilities also.
Well, good work.
Okay, if we're all good, we need a motion.
I move to adopt Resolution 20-05 for the purpose of approving changes to the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget by increasing appropriations in the road fund to allow for a specific purpose grant from Oregon Department of Transportation Small City Allotment Program.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made. Any last questions? Jen?
Council McCarthy?
Yes.
Council President Benefield?
Yes.
Counselor Risley,
Yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Seidel.
Yes. Okay, Karen, go ahead.
Thank you.
Light those candles. Our next item is, the consideration for the ISO CPA audio audit report.
Mr. Mayor?
Paul is here.
Well, Paul is on Zoom, but I would like Lori to be able to introduce Paul.
Oh, it's Lori.
Lori, would you like to introduce Paul?
Sure. I was texting Rusty earlier. I'm having a hard time hearing you guys from my laptop. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Very loud, very good,
Okay, good.
very good.
Okay, so tonight, Paul Nielsen, our auditor from our audit manager or audit partner, excuse me, from Eisler CPA is here to present the audited financial statements to you this evening. And he doesn't have a camera, so he's gonna, just be able to speak to you guys tonight from his little black box.
That is so disappointing.
Paul, if you're there,
I'm here.
welcome.
Thank you.
How do we know it's really Paul?
Listen
can
to
tell
the
you
first,
You have to trust.
listen to the first joke.
Well, as Lori said, the little black box, it makes me think auditors are better heard from than seen, probably.
I was kind of waiting to see what your background would be.
Well, the other day I was on a Zoom and my computer gave me a message that said, you don't have a camera. And my IT guy at my office actually got a hold of Dell and they said they got to come and install a new camera on my computer. So I don't know what I did to it. I broke it somehow. So there's a PowerPoint. I was thinking it might be up on the.
Um,
I'm working on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
So if
There
you
we
can
go.
actually go to the next slide. And just, unfortunately, this has bullet points that come up, so you hit it a few times, I think, keep on going. That's it. That's it. So I don't know how many of you, first of all, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how many of you are new and have not sat through this process. Many of you have been through this process several times. You have a copy of the audit report in your packet. And that audit report, even though we draft it, I've told you this several times, is actually management's responsibility. And our responsibility is issue our opinions. And any place you see our letterhead, that's our opinion. And our opinion says there are no material misstatements in these financial statements. What does that mean? Well, material means if somebody were to use these statements and make a decision based on the information in here, we're not saying there's no errors in here. We're saying there's no errors in here big enough to change that decision. So I think I've told this before this council. I had a client once that say once the audit is done, every nickel and dime will be accounted for. Well, one, you can't pay an auditor to do, and that's really not how an audit works. The way we do an audit is we go in and we test what we call your internal controls. And that's the procedures you have in place to safeguard the assets of the city. And once we do that test, we have other procedures we perform by pulling other invoices and looking at things. Then we do some statistical analysis and some trend analysis. And then, as my young staff like to call it, because I call it the eyeball test once, is the old Paul eyeball test. Sometimes I see things that just don't seem right, and we'll end up testing those too. So we had no significant findings in the audit, no difficulties encountered during the audit. In fact, I told Lori earlier today, your finance staff needs to be commended. You're one of the few audits due to COVID and wildfires that were actually ready for us when we expected to be there. And I have several audits I've put on an extension this year because they just weren't able to get ready. So Lori and her staff did a really good job getting ready for us. We had one corrected misstatement, and it was very, what we call immaterial, but Lori agreed that she would want to make it. We had no disagreements with management. Management signs a representation letter, basically saying you didn't keep two sets of books and put one in the closet and give us the other one. As far as we know, management didn't consult with other auditors, and we had no other findings or issues. Any questions so far?
Nope.
I'll go on to the next slide. Again, I'll need you to I think that's it right there. Public. So Oregon minimum standards. Several of you have heard me say this in the past. I've audited governments in Idaho, Nevada, California, and Oregon. And Oregon is the only state that has standards around audits of local governments. And one of the reasons, that's the primary reason why when you see your audit opinion, it has my name on there instead of the firm's name on there. Because the state rules are, unless every partner in the firm is a licensed municipal auditor, I can't sign your report with the firm's name. And I can't convince my tax partners that they should take all the classes they have to get to become a licensed municipal auditor. So that's the only state that I have to do that in when I used to do audits in other states. We test, according to Oregon minimum audit standards, we test deposits of public funds. You can put your money in any bank you want to, up to $250,000. After that, there's a list provided by the state treasurer of financial institutions you're allowed to put your money in. There's debt limitation calculations we do on general obligation debt only, and that's a percentage of your real market value of the taxable property in the city limits. We do budget testing. We had no expectations. There should have no exceptions. There should have no one there. We actually look at your insurance certificates to verify you have insurance. We test for programs funded from outside sources. You were just talking about a state grant that you received. That would be subject to testing in the next year's audit. There's rules on what you can spend your gas tax on that you receive from the state, and we do testing on that. There's also rules about what you can invest your money into, and we test to make sure you haven't violated those rules. In public contracting, what happens every year, we get a list of the bids you put out for bid during the year, and we pull a sample of that, and we test them and make sure you followed the bid procedures that you laid forth in the put out in the bid. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. Can we go on the next one? This is your general fund revenue and other sources and expenditures and other uses over the last several years. So basically your expenditures and other uses exceeded your revenue only in one of those last several years. And then the next slide is, this is again, I've been doing this now for 37 years auditing local governments, and I came up with this several years ago. And what this calculation is if the city had to operate on what was in cash at the end of June 30, how many days could the city operate? And you're at 132 days in 2020. And that's a pretty good trend you have there, staying in the 20s and 130 range. That's really good. I think I've told many of you before, I've had one client where I had it at 2 days, and that made me very, very nervous. I'll let you know if you get to a point where you start to make me nervous. One more slide, I think. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about the financial statements. This is a little bit different than what I've talked about. So in the financial statements, this is what's called a management discussion and analysis. That's pages 3 through 13. And this is required by GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And this is a very high level overview of the financial statements. And if the reader wanted to know something at a very 10,000 foot level, they would read this. And it's based on your 34 statements, which is not the same basis of accounting as your budget reports. And we've talked about that in the past. Now, the reports you're probably most interested in, your budget reports, I have the page numbers of all the various budget reports on there. And I think one of the questions I get a lot is, why can't we put them all together? Well, the way GASB now has us do the reporting, we have to break them up like that. So they're kind of scattered throughout the report. But if you're looking for your budget to actual comparisons, those are where they would be in the audit report. You actually adopted a new GASB this year. GASB issued a standard I think it's 3 years ago about leases. And they kind of followed FASB, which is the Financial Accounting Standards Board. And basic concept behind that is any kind of lease you go into, you are leasing the property, right, Lori? Let me find my footnote. If I remember correctly. You are the lessor. So you now have a receivable on your books. Now, this doesn't affect your budgetary basis accounting, but this affects your GASB 34 accounting. We put a receivable on your books, discount that for present value of an estimated interest rate. And every time you get a payment, part of it reduces the receivable and part of it is interest income, and all the revenue, again, this doesn't affect your budgetary basis, gets reported when the lease is entered into. Did I totally confuse you with that? Yeah.
Good job.
I'm just trying to let you know you've adopted a new standard. GASB has done a lot of new standards lately, and it just makes the statements more confusing all the time. And speaking of that one, we did this one several years ago. But if you ever really want to get confused, you can start on page 41. That is the required pension disclosure that GASB passed many years ago now, and it ends on page 45. And basically, if you look at that, I'm scrolling down on my PDF copy of it. Really, what you're probably most interested in this pension disclosure is, according to the information we get from the state, your share of the state pension liability is just slightly over $4 million right now, based on actuarial studies. And you also have a other post, and again, I'm talking like an accountant, but I feel like as the governing body, you need to know a little bit about these statements. You also have what we call an other post-employment benefit. So again, GASB back several years ago issued this standard, and since in the state of Oregon, retired people can be on the same insurance as people working at the city. And the idea is, since their premiums would normally be higher than the younger people working at the city, the state does a calculation, or CIS, or whoever you're using, does a calculation of a liability based on that difference. And we put that on your financial statements. Again, doesn't affect your budget to actual, but it is on your statements. Now, I have totally confused everybody, right?
I don't understand that.
Any questions on that? So basically, the upshot of the bottom two is, according to the new rules set by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, there's a liability on your front statements for pension that someday you'll have to pay. It doesn't affect your budget to action reports, but it is on your front report. That's $4 million. Because of this insurance thing that GASB issued, you have a liability also of about $150,000 on your front of your statements. Again, it doesn't affect your budget to action. Any questions? Are you totally confused?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I was trying to help you not be confused, so maybe next year I'll go back to a different slide. So trying to help you understand these statements any way I could.
I do have a question. Does that mean that the city then is responsible for paying $4 million in PERS?
That is an actuarial determined liability that over time, again, this is over time, this actuarial evaluation that you have yes, you would be responsible over the time to pay off $4 million of the PERS liability.
And that's $4 million from what year to what year? I mean, and does it add up then? Do we like in
It increases every year. It's based on a new actuarial table. So they project out the lifespan of the retirees and the current workers there. So it goes out quite a ways. Again, that won't affect your budget to actual. Your budget to actual is just going to have your annual contributions to PERS every year. But as this liability grows, which it has been over the last several years, your contribution keeps on going up.
Do we have any idea how much of a percentage that is of our budget?
The 4 million or your contribution?
The 4 million, I get. Well, that would be more than 100%.
That would be broken out over, if your average life expectancy is, I'm guessing at this 80 years, that's going to be broken out over like an 80-year period potentially. Now I'm guessing what they use for life expectancy.
So nobody gets to retire.
Nobody gets to retire. That's right.
Okay.
And just so, and again, might be more information you need. They actually on this calculation project a rate of return of 7.2% right now. And since I personally don't think they're getting that, I see that liability going up over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you totally confused? Should I try something different next year?
I got that part.
No, why don't you just give us a test on pages 46 and 47?
Well, if you can read it and understand it, you've already passed the test.
Hey, I do have a question. Maybe somebody said it and I just didn't hear it. On the lease reporting rules, my question is, do we have any leases?
Yes. When we took over the school, we have a lease with the food pantry.
All right.
And we have cell tower leases.
Yes.
Do we also have the academy? Or is that?
Yes.
I think, yes, you're correct, Robin, we do.
Okay.
The Cannon Beach Academy, well, they're not in session right now. We do lease them a building.
Okay.
And
the Stephanie Inn leases part of land we own for their parking lot.
Page 36 of the audit footnotes is a list of the leases that were reported in the audit.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Any other questions? I do miss coming up there, quite honestly, but maybe next year, right?
I think you'd miss it tonight. It's kind of stormy.
Is that?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
And thank you to Lori.
Yes.
Another good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.
She's one that can't retire.
Okay, at this point, we need a motion to adopt, I guess.
Adopt the audit report. Yes, sir.
I move we adopt the audit report, and I'm sorry, I'm going to need some help. Which year am I including?
Fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020.
And the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. Thank you very much, Mike.
I second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? Jen?
Council President Benfield?
Yes.
Councilor Risley? Yes. Councilor Ogleby?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Mayor Stidle?
Yes. Very good. That concludes our regular meeting. Any status report questions or concerns?
I have a question, but it's not on here. It's with the chief. And I was wondering how New Year's went.
New Year's went fine. New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So we had 7 employees on. That was Val, who was dispatching for them, and then 6 officers. And we had a total of 10 dispatched fireworks calls. And that was between, a lot of them were Telebona and Silver Point. And that's common even on the 4th of July. There's locals from Cannon Beach that go down to Silver Point to set them off because they don't want to be in Cannon Beach. And so we'll get calls on those, but then also up at Chapman Point. And officers obviously were responding to other ones that they heard when they were out and about. But they did issue 1 citation at the north end, down at the Carmen's, the campground there.
Oh,
There's a group from Vancouver that had set some off, and the officers were able to get there in time and did issue a citation for the $5,000 fine there.
oh,
Yeah.
They were really happy, weren't they?
So other than that, I think things went smoothly. There were officers out there. It's a thing of catching them in the act. It's easy to be at this end and hear them down at that end. By the time you get down there, they're gone. But no, they were very active that night. In fact, I think they also had a DUI that night as well. So it was a busy night for them.
well, thank you for
Yes.
your first time at doing all this.
Yes, yes. It'll be more interesting when we run into sparklers and other things that
Oh,
to
yeah.
enforce. That's going to be a mess.
I heard there was a real big explosion type firework on the north side. Was that,
Yeah, that's the one at the RV resort there that they caught. It was right at the roadside.
okay.
And actually, the fire department happened to be going by at the same time on their way to a call, and the fire chief said it scared the tar out of him. So he is happy that we got there and took care of it.
Good.
Wow.
Jason, you saying that was at the Sea Ranch RV park?
Yeah, obviously wasn't Carmen or any of her employees, but it was somebody that was staying there.
I see.
That's definitely a key point for both and our RV park for messaging for the summer. Yeah, make sure that's well posted. People camping are more likely going to have fireworks than somebody in a hotel.
Yep.
That's a good catch. I didn't hear anything, so I thought it was good.
I didn't hear.
Oh, I heard it. 2 really big ones.
Yeah, there's that big one. I heard that too. Yeah.
My older dog now is deaf, so she doesn't hear anymore.
Oh,
Oh, well. Any other communications that anybody has? Or go to the order? Nope. Then we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Well,
Thank all of you. Happy New
See
Year.
you in a couple days. We'll be
Yeah.
listening.
Thursday at 5:30, is it?
Yes. Input.
Cannon Beach Elementary School.
I intend to come in on Zoom on those, so, okay, so we're listening.
All right, I have a stack.
okay, we're adjourned.
Adjourned.
Okay, good night.